Hey everybody, this is Heather Alderman. I'm the Executive Director of COSMA, and this is the last in a series of 4 trainings that I've done this fall in 2024 on the COSMA accreditation process. So you might imagine that the site visit is the culmination of a lot of work that you have put into preparing for accreditation, and so that is what I'm going to talk about today. In order to be at this point in the process, you will already have a completed self-study document. This will include an outcomes assessment plan that you have submitted. You have gotten feedback potentially from the Board of Commissioners on it, made changes and adjustments, and you have collected at least 1 year of data, which you have been able to analyze. So that's going to be a significant part of your responses to self-study guidelines in Principle 1. You also have already been transparent and clear about which programs you are including in this process. So what that implies is that you do not have other programs at your university or college that have the word sport in it that either might look like a sport management program or are actually a sport management program. If you are in the process of developing a new program that is not ready to go through the process, that's acceptable, but you have been transparent and open about that from the beginning, from the candidacy status portion of the process. And there are not any kind of programs that you just know that you just decided you didn't want to include. That's not how it works. The Board of Commissioners makes that determination, and it's based on criteria that are clear and established. And generally, it's a discussion you would have with the Board of Commissioners. So I spent a lot of time on that because that's really important. You have already set aside the time and the resources, either the people or the course release or the compensation to be able to write this self-study document. And then you've answered all of those self-study guideline questions in our accreditation principles and self-study preparation manual. These are our 7 principles, so you, at this point, probably know them a lot better than you did at the beginning. And so I will not go through all of these. This how to complete your self-study was, I talked about that in 2 different training sessions that are recorded and available on the COSMA website. All right, so in order to help you prepare for a site visit, because that preparation is going on simultaneous with your submission of the self-study document. So you have been in contact with me so that we can talk about when I might expect that self-study, whether or not, well, I want to read that self-study before it is finalized because I often have comments and questions and suggestions to improve it. And anyway, we will kind of plan those things simultaneously. We want to make sure that that submission of that self-study document will be 90 days prior to an actual site visit. So like I said here in this first column, you want to kind of schedule it as far in advance as possible. And it really gives you time to prepare. It gives the team time to prepare, reading your self-study, gathering information from your website, and having a discussion with me so that I can help prepare the team to go on site. So what the site visit team is doing is they are validating the accuracy of the information that you put in your self-study. If you have changes that have occurred between this snapshot, which is the self-study, and what's happening now or what will be happening soon in the future, that is something that is very common. We know this is going to happen, and we want to hear what's happening now and what's happening shortly in the future so that we can, so a decision can be made about that. But so any assistance or advice or help you might get is worthwhile and is relating to what's happening now. So the site team will come on site, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But they will complete a report of their findings within about 2 weeks of the site visit. And they also complete evaluation forms regarding each other. So the team is ensuring that they were able to work effectively together and that they were appropriately trained. You are able to provide what we call a response or a rejoinder to that site visit report. There are some elements you are required to respond to, and those are called action items. And then there are recommendations that you are highly recommended to respond to, but you do not have to. And so what happens internally with the Board of Commissioners is that they are going to read your self-study, the site team report, your response or rejoinder. And while one commissioner is assigned to your program to follow it over the course of their term on the Board of Commissioners, a subgroup is put together, including that lead person, and they will make that initial review of your program using a checklist. And they will also be presenting that to the rest of the commissioners, who then, of course, have familiarized themselves with your materials, and then they will discuss what happens. They discuss what type of accreditation decision is appropriate and what items, let's say you are accredited, whether you should have any notes, which are required responses, areas that may still not be in compliance. Observations, which are items you could respond to. You're not required, but it could help improve your program. And then commendations, just something that makes you feel good because, of course, every program has things that they're doing very well. So here is a little bit of a checklist about how to host a site visit team. You have, of course, submitted your self-study document. You have reviewed the site visit preparation manual. It's actually rather short. It's filled with some appendices, but the document is one of the best that we have. It's the shortest. It's maybe 10 pages long, but it helps you think about how to prepare, and you don't have to memorize it, but to look at it, I think will answer a lot of questions that you may have. Of course, hosting a site visit team does cost money. So we have two payment options. One is that you organize the site visit and you pay for as many things directly as you can. And then anything else that is you're not able to pay for directly, like parking at a home airport for a site reviewer, then you would be invoiced for that at the end. In general, no payment goes directly from the institution or the program to the site reviewers. It goes through COSMA. We don't want any sort of, we're not paying to play here. So we are compensating people for their time and for their expenses that they incur, but we are not paying them to accredit you. When we are talking about who's going to come on your site visit, first, I ensure that no one at your institution, mostly that would be faculty, has any conflict of interest with the site reviewers. In many cases, you will never have heard of these site reviewers. In some cases, you may have met them at a conference. That's not really a conflict. But if you have any personal or business relationship, that is a conflict. So we'll talk about that and what degree it is. Even if there's an appearance of a conflict, we want to avoid that. So we will just make sure that that is discussed at the beginning. So we generally have a two-person, two-day visit, and the people are of different levels of experience. There is a team chair. This person has been on multiple site visits for COSMA in the past, possibly has been on the Board of Commissioners. So they really know the process, and they are the chair. They are in charge. They are ultimately responsible for the report that is written. And then there's another site team member who may be an individual from a program that's in candidacy status. And this is an excellent way to help prepare them for writing the self-study and hosting their own team. But they've gone through training. They may have gone on another site visit, but they may have not. So they're a little bit less experienced, and this may be more of a learning opportunity for them. That doesn't mean that they are not good or that they are not worthy. It's just a method that we have to help get experience for different team members. And then you might have an observer or two virtually. And I tend to be one that I would like to sit in on the exit interview part of your site visit. And we'll talk about a sample schedule later, so you know what that means. But I'm watching the team. I'm not looking at you and making judgment on your program. I'm making sure that that team is talking about what they have found, in that exit interview around compliance or non-compliance of any of the principles, and just ensuring that the way they're discussing what your program is doing well and things that they will be writing up in the report is consistent with all of the different site visits. In addition, that commissioner who is assigned to the specific program may also be able to virtually attend a meeting, let's say with the provost, president, somebody in that kind of higher up administration position. Again, it's to watch the team, and it's there to just say, hey, COSMA is a real entity that exists. And if there are any process questions, that's those people would be able to answer it. It really is no cost to you. In fact, even I can set up the Zoom if that helps, if you don't have any sort of virtual attendance account, which is a little bit rare these days, but nonetheless, it should be simple and easy to do. Here is a breakdown of the site visit expenses. I did talk about briefly the payment options. So this option 1 would be where you're going to be paying or you're going to be organizing the site visit and paying directly for many things. As you can see, there are 2 fixed costs. This is incorporated into the flat fee and in the self-pay option. That is an application fee. And then the honorarium for the 2 evaluators. The site team chair will receive $300 a day or $600 total, and the site team member will receive $200 a day or $400 for a total of $1,000. The travel, the hotel, meals, that kind of expense, we have estimated what that is. Of course, these have been quite variable in the recent past, which is why some folks are deciding to pay the flat fee. And so then I will be arranging everything and I will be reimbursing those site reviewers directly, and you will have not to do any of that kind of thing. All right, let's talk a little bit about conflicts of interest. So as I described before, all of the site reviewers have gone through a training with me. They may have actually been on the Board of Commissioners. They have possibly gone on other site visits. They may have worked across other disciplines on their accreditation bodies. Generally, we just have 2 individuals come to your program with and will be there for 2 days. If your program is much more complex or has multiple sites that are geographically distant from each other, it may take a little bit more time. In addition, of course, if you are not in the United States and not maybe in North America, then there will be a longer site visit that you would host just in order to allow for travel. And it would cost a little bit more money to be able to pay those reviewers. So these are some of the guidelines that we use to determine the site team composition. It's happening on both ends. So as I am requesting individuals to volunteer to do the site visit, they will see what program they're visiting, and they would know in advance, I hope, if they have a conflict of interest with anyone at that program, or if they got their doctorate at that program, or they have a business relationship with someone. So not only are they self-selecting or self-deselecting, then again, you and your colleagues have a chance to reject, if you will, somebody. So I think you can just read these various areas that are, I hope, obvious to you about when there would be a conflict. All right, so logistics. Generally, there is somebody we call the campus coordinator. That may be you, the person who wrote the self-study. It could be that you share that duty actually with some sort of administrative support or student support or other faculty support. It's no matter. I do want to know that there is one individual who will be, I will be able to send emails back and forth to, and that you will have a direct link and contact with the site reviewers just in case there are any issues with travel or any sort of discussion you might need to have via text or phone. You will be indicating to those site reviewers how they are to get to and from the hotel from the airport, let's say, or from a train station, or from the hotel to your campus. Is there parking? that they need to worry about? Is there a car rental involved here or somebody picking them up? These are the kinds of logistics that you're going to be talking about with them. If you're organizing it, you will maybe select a hotel that your university has a relationship with. Maybe you can get a deal that would, obviously I'm definitely all about, keeping the costs low. Or maybe you actually have a hospitality program and there's a on-campus hotel, and it would be nice to just show off that. And possibly that's also less expensive as well. If you're not organizing it, I love to hear about where the best, where do you want the team to stay that is most convenient for you? And I will make those reservations. With meals, they'll be arriving, let's just for example, on a, say, Sunday night, they will have either they will arrive late for dinner or they will have dinner together. But the next day, does the hotel have a breakfast? Or are you going to pick them up and then take them to a breakfast? Usually it would be while you're having interviews with faculty or discussions with individual stakeholders. Lunch could be an opportunity to have students being interviewed, especially because when you have food available, students are much more likely to attend, or with faculty. And then for dinner, it's only really one night between the 2 days that the site reviewers are there. So don't necessarily plan a meal. You will maybe need that time to also kind of relax. The team may want to use that time to chill out a little bit, to write a little bit of their report. So you don't have to entertain them 24/7. On campus, it is helpful, if possible, to give them some sort of a home base where they might um, use as that center point where they can leave their computers if they need to, or their valuables, where they can, maybe you bring all of the interviewees to them and they just stay in that one room, which should have wireless internet access, plugs. Maybe you are able to let them know, where they can get some water or other kinds of beverages, going to the bathroom, etc. You do not necessarily need to print out all of the materials that you've prepared for this process. Some people do that. You don't have to kill those trees. You can have it available electronically. Sometimes there's an intranet that you need to be able to provide access to the site reviewers because they haven't been able to do it out of campus. So you might have a laptop with that, or you give them some sort of password, etc. Just enable them to be able to look at some of those materials. And just know that on the COSMA end, that we have a code of conduct that all site reviewers sign. It's a part of their training, but it is a little bit of a schooling in how they are to dress and behave, how they're to approach the site visits. So it's very much a diplomatic mission and not a gotcha kind of mission. All right, these are some of the materials that you might have available. I mentioned it on the previous slide, but you do not have to print these out again. I very much would, if you have a drive with different folders and it has the materials, if you, somehow you provide them electronically, that's probably the best. Sometimes there are links, to say faculty handbook or to the catalog. You can just provide that to them and it will be fine. All right, the site visit schedule. So we have a sample. You do not have to duplicate it exactly. There is a certain logic to having some of the sessions in a particular order. And all I will say is that an exit interview, yes, that would likely be at the end, not at the beginning, because they haven't talked to anyone yet. It might be nice actually to have students, let's say, on the first day, because students sometimes can have a lot to say about a lot of things, and then the site reviewers can take that information and ask others about that. So that's helpful. You can certainly have people attend in some sort of an virtual format like Zoom, that if that enables somebody to attend that might not otherwise be able to, that would be great, especially if you have, say, an advisory board or an alumni group where folks are scattered. Maybe they can just attend a Zoom, and that's just a lot easier for everybody. On your schedule, indicate who everybody is, what their title is. It just helps everybody prepare properly. Um, if you are planning this, generally you want to get on the president and or the provost schedule first. So that may actually dictate not only the dates of the visit, but how then the rest of the stakeholder interviews are organized. So keep that in mind. Like I said before, you definitely could include food if you want to attract students. And we want to see a cross section of the diversity of students you have. So we're talking about not only what year they are in the program, but we're talking about race and gender, and maybe you have tracks or cognates or concentrations, and you want to get a smattering of those different individuals. So do the best you can there. And then the exit interview, leave about an hour for that. That's generally going to happen at the end, as I said, uh, of the visit. And, especially for people like the president and provost, the site team is not going to grill them on some nitty-gritty details of the program. You certainly, though, may help them prepare for the interview so that they just better understand who these accreditors are, what kinds of things they might ask. And that is, it's not a secret. It is not, kind of something sneaky. Again, that site visit preparation manual can give you an excellent window into the types of questions they might be asking. And you can always ask me. I will tell you the answer. It's not, again, a secret. Here is the sample site visit agenda that we have. As you can see, the team arrives the night before. They may start fairly early on the first day and start just acquainting themselves with you, the campus coordinator, and you and any other faculty to discuss logistics or start answering questions or, kind of talking about the different principles with you. They'll meet with those higher up folks. If you have an outcomes assessment coordinator of some sort on campus, even if they don't help you, it might be important to have a meeting with them, especially if they do help you, then they can talk about any issues they found in the outcomes assessment plan with that individual and, get you the support that you need. And so that'll be quite a focus on the first day. As I said, meals can be with stakeholders and faculty, and then you may want to give the team some time to validate the self-study and write their report the first day. You may not have to. You can see there's a lot of open time on this day, so feel free to fill it with some of the other stakeholder meetings if you need to. And then the second day, you can see that they can meet with the students. They're going to take a tour, so make sure that you include that at some point. And then there will be an exit interview. Again, another meal maybe, and then depending on when those individuals' flights are, in and out of an airport or a train or driving, you'll end the site visit in order for them to be able to depart campus and get home on time. All right, this is really important, so I gave it its own slide. The team is there to validate your self-study. They are not providing you any inclination or hinting or suggestion about what the accreditation decision will make. That is made by the Board of Commissioners. All right, so after the site visit, well, maybe go home and rest because you probably will be tired. But to let you know, all of the materials that have been provided are confidential, and the team loses access to them once everything is finished. You also will be asked to complete an evaluation of how the site team did and the site visit process itself. This is a confidential survey, and I use it to improve all the processes that go into planning a site visit. So training the site team, just the general interactions that I have with you around your self-study and preparing for the site visit. So I'm looking for the honest truth. So remember, I don't make any decisions. I'm just here to help facilitate things. And if I did not do a good job, I need to know. Again, you will be invoiced if you have been planning this on your own, and there are some miscellaneous expenses remaining. You also will then receive the site visit report with what I told you before about the required response items, the action items, and then the recommended response items, the recommendations. Your rejoinder, that is where you're responding to that. That's just another fancy word for the response that you're going to provide. And then this is something you will know already because you've either watched all of my other videos or you're going through this process, but we are planning our site visits so that they occur about 90 days prior to one of the two in-person meetings that the Board of Commissioners has every year. And those take place in February and September. And then the decisions that they might make include accreditation with notes, which would mean that there are a few areas that still are out of compliance, and the notes are required response within 2 years. So that's a whole other conversation that we can have specifically, or you can look in our accreditation process manual to see how that is defined. Or observations, and it could be that you have both notes and observations. Observations fall into the sort of continuous improvement bucket where there may be some connections that the site visit team is recommending that you pursue, or there might be some improvements that you could make. And it's a little nudge to try to get that going because it could really improve and enhance your program. There are instances when the Board of Commissioners does not make an accreditation decision. They instead defer making a decision, which is an accreditation. It's an accreditation deferral. That means that they don't have enough information generally to make that decision. And so instead of denying accreditation, which of course is that third option there, they are saying we need more information. Maybe your outcomes assessment plan has a lot of changes that need to happen, or maybe the strategic planning process is up in the air because institutionally that's changing, and kind of drop the ball a little bit on your own program level strategic planning process. And when there is a combination of, say, a little bit of a lack of information in some of those key areas, or a number of principles are out of compliance, instead of saying, well, denial, there may be a decision to defer, and that could give you more time to work on those areas and then come back 6 months, either the next meeting or maybe even a whole year with more information. And that could then lead, of course, to an accreditation decision. Denial does happen, and it has happened, and that is when there just is not compliance with a number of the principles. That can be appealed, and I would strongly encourage the appeal. That's my opinion. But just because it could be that there was a request for information and still a lack of response with that proper information, and of course, maybe it takes a denial to move in the direction of providing the information. But there are options to say, you know what, commissioners, I think you need to look at this again. All right, here's a little bit of information about what you are going to be responding to. Like I mentioned, there will be an evaluation. So these are the kinds of things that I'm asking you about, and I want to know, as I said, very honestly, what that looks like. All right, so these are just some questions that I've hosted when I've actually had people listening live to my presentation, which is not happening right now. But, people do have some concerns and questions about this process. And so I like to try to get those. There are some better practices. So it's good when folks who've hosted site visits before share what they've done or what they should not do. And also just thinking about what they might focus on during the site visit. So I'm sorry that in this recording, you are not going to be getting answers to this or be talking about a discussion, but these are things that I may talk about in another venue. All right, that is all that I have today about this process. As you can see, I have been doing this for the last month on Fridays. And so what I'm doing here is showing you that we have 3 recordings, and then this one will become the 4th, and this will conclude the training for this year, 2024, about the COSMA accreditation process. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope to be able to talk with you live.